No, this is excellent, because I was just reading tonight a big piece. You've heard of Max Kaiser?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, well, I watched an hour of his show tonight before I came, and they plan on crashing us beginning of 2013, so the globalists. And if we don't have something in place, we're all in deep trouble. Very deep trouble.
We can all go home now. She just said what I want to tell you. That's it. But we need to get the legislators on our side, and we need your influence too. So, as we answer questions, go ahead.
What's the advantage to Arizona having gold, silver, legal tender currency right alongside the Federal Reserve notes?
Well, there's lots of advantages. I think that just the gradualism is a good advantage for us, because we've got to get used to the idea, and we've got to say, like the little kid who takes off his training wheels on his bicycle. Gee, maybe I can do this, and maybe we can't. We have a lot of I hate to use the word brainwashed, but I think that's the way we are. We're brainwashed to think, well, that'll never work. Well, it's too simple. And but the states have the power to do this. The advantage, I think, is just getting people used to it and realizing it does work. The founders were amazed when they set up the system that they got rid of many of their debts quickly after they got back to the gold and silver standard. That's all. Yes.
You're talking about state legislation, and you just quoted to us from the Constitution prohibiting the states the power even to coin money, much less print a silver or gold certificate.
That's
so
exactly.
You know that the federal government challenges Joe Arpaio for enforcing the law, so you know that they're going to rule against this, right?
Well, what it does not do, it does not say that the state, it says states cannot print or cannot coin money, but it doesn't say the people can't.
But we're talking about a state law.
No, we're talking about people taking their gold to a mint and having it minted into coins that show the purity and how much gold or silver is in that coin. That's all we're talking about. Keep it simple. This is not rocket science. It's really simple. Right? It's voluntary.
Well, what Joe Arpaio is doing is simple too, and they won't let him do that.
He can do. Well, you need to hear what Richard Mack has to say about that. You know who Richard Mack is?
Yeah.
Sheriff Mack.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what he says is that the sheriff is the ultimate law enforcement authority in his county, and the sheriff can do and thumb his nose essentially at the federal government, and that's what Joe Arpaio is really doing.
Well,
and I congratulate him for doing that.
You also can go on the 10th Amendment.
Say again?
If Arizona has the 10th Amendment, we can proceed.
Absolutely,
right.
And we do that. Let me point out one thing. You know that you can take a pre-1966 silver dime and go buy a loaf of bread with it?
I'm not saying it isn't a good thing. I'm just
I know, but let me just illustrate this. This is why we need this, because, you know, this quantitative easing that the Fed is doing now, they're putting $40 billion more into circulation when it goes into circulation. And you know, that dollar that you have in your pocket is practically worthless, or it's getting worth less and less every day. Look at what's happening in the grocery store. All we're trying to do is protect ourselves from the collapse of the dollar. And it's really pretty simple. Just by enabling us to take our gold or silver, or buy gold and silver, or buy gold and silver coins with these worthless dollars that we have now.
And I'm passing around here, if you count on whoever wants to help us. When we say it's coming up in June, would you please email and write this committee, members, and so forth. So if you want to get on our calling team and help us to do this. If there was a groundswell, that would be wonderful. That would answer, help answer your question.
Yeah.
Get it done.
Question over here.
Tom has a question.
Yeah, I noticed that they were talking about 100% reserve
Right.
as opposed to fractional
No
reserve.
fractional thing.
How would the lending process work then? I mean, like right today, you get a deposit, they take 10% or something, or else and they lend the rest.
Right.
If it's 100% reserve, how does that work?
Well, this is another thing. And really what we thought about and what has been done and what's been formulated is to make these deposits, these gold and silver depositories, totally separate from the Federal Reserve System. And therefore,
Well, I know, but one of the slides we had said the concept would be that we would have 100% reserve.
absolutely.
Now,
So,
if you put your money into it, and you tell them, I want you to loan this out at such and such, then they can do it if you advise it, but you've made that deal with them, with the depository, but if you're just keeping your money, they can't touch it. It's yours.
Okay.
Isn't that the
Okay.
way it used to be? And that's the way it's supposed to be. Is that amazing that we,
If they loan it out and the borrower defaults, what happens then?
I don't know, that would have to, we have to set up a contract. These things would, but I do know one thing. If it's left within private hands in the free market, it will work itself out. Because people will demand honesty from each other. This system we've got now is so dishonest, it's stealing from us. But so I don't know all those details.
Tom?
Yeah, Tom, in answer to your question, the 100% reserve is a repository, it's not a lending institution.
Right.
So, you wouldn't go to it as a borrower, you wouldn't go to it to borrow money. You'd go to a bank to borrow money. What the people who have substantial amounts of gold and silver in the repository may withdraw it. This is one scenario that could happen. May withdraw it and loan you, make a contract between you and a lender, and you two would work it out. But the confusion that I read that I have is that we're treating a repository as a lending institution. It is not designed to be a lending institution. Does that help?
Sure, yeah.
Where do we get the money, the silver?
Okay, that's a good thing that I've often wondered, I'm learning as you are. I've often wondered, well, first of all, some of us do have it, but we'd have, two of you get together and say, you know, I think this gold and silver thing's gonna go. We've got some capital, why don't we start, I know a place where we can start a mine. And what happens when you create gold and silver? You create an industry. You're not just dealing with paper, you're digging, and of course, here comes some copper and other things with it. And as soon as the market gets flooded with gold, what happens to a free society and the entrepreneurs and everything? Oh, you can't make any more money than that, let's go into something else. We've already got enough gold, nobody's gonna buy it from us. So the free market will regulate itself. I mean, that's what the founders tried to do. Adam Smith and all that, you know? That's the best way I can answer, yes.
You gotta give us, I have to.
Answer that was first.
Oh,
Okay.
well, my question is similar to her question. How can we as individuals amass enough gold or silver to possibly help us? Why wasn't this project brought to our attention 3 or 4 years ago? How can we do anything now? It's too late. The project is never
Well,
going
if you have a bunch of inflated dollars, you can go to several different dealers in town that sell gold and silver coins.
Junk coin.
Now has to.
Yeah.
to get
And-
into circulation,
and,
you gotta get something.
And I've been doing business with one of them since 1974. He's been in business since 1974, so he knows this business.
Well, I know where we can buy gold and silver, that's not the point. How can we possibly amass enough of it unless we're literally made of worthless dollars?
Well,
That we can do this.
okay, well, there are people that are still working, and they can be paid in gold and silver. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make it legal so that those people that want to deal in gold and silver can do so and pay debts with it and pay the government the taxes that they owe in gold and silver. I've got a sample bill that we put together, that the 10th Amendment Center put together, that requires payment of taxes in gold and silver coins. And so what you'd have to do is you'd have to go to a depository to buy gold, and they would find ways of getting gold and silver coins. They'll go into the business of selling you gold and silver coins.
Bill, can I comment on that? If you go to the grocery store, you can find the racks of all the gift cards to all the restaurants, and right in there are some cash cards. When you take that cash card to the cash register, you put $100 on that cash card. That becomes your bank. You can take that cash card anywhere. They take an electronic debit card. You can purchase something, but when your $100 runs out, that's the end of it. That's not like a credit card, is it? So what you've done is you have actually developed your own bank, your own bank account, and as long as you keep putting money in, like a prepaid phone card, you can transact business. And the reason we call gold and silver honest money is because you can't fudge the system. When you try to buy something from someone and you offer a gold coin, they may bite it to see if it's got a hollow center, but gold is gold. And this is why the founders, who saw all these other currency schemes fail over the years in history, settled on gold and silver. Now you can also study the currency systems that crashed, that were built just exactly like our Federal Reserve System. Can anyone think of a country that this has happened to recently, as around like 1980 to 1990? Argentina. In Argentina, things got so bad that there was like 6,000% to 6 million% inflation. And the people were so desperate, they were robbing the cattle cars and killing the cows and eating them just to get something to eat right out of the cattle cars. This is what we're going to face in this country. And I don't want to push fear buttons so much, but I want to tell you that when your Federal Reserve System fails, and nobody wants to take your Federal Reserve note of any denomination, what have you got left? Well, here is the lifeboat. This is the lifeboat. And this is why 13 state legislatures are looking at this and saying, we have a fiduciary responsibility to our people, and we want them to have something, an honest, tried, proven, sound system to go to when the fiat system falls through. Now you can go to the website that we had on the screen. I'm not sure if we have something passed out with that. And this website has tons of information on it that you can download, you can share, you can watch the videos, and it will explain in great detail a lot of the information we found on the internet and gathered into one place. Arizona Sound Money Act. It's a WordPress blog, so it's .wordpress.com. And in there we'll explain to you exactly how the system works. For example, Tom was asking about borrowing. So if I put $1,000 of gold on the side of the bank that can only do gold and silver or hard asset transactions, maybe it'll be platinum coins, whatever the market will do. Then when that $1,000 of gold is sitting in the bank, they can loan $1,000 to someone if they want, as long as I can get my $1,000 when I go back in there. But if you take anything into a bank today and ask for it, they'll laugh at you. If you take even a silver certificate in now, that was due to that is still legal tender, but you won't get silver for it. They'll laugh at you. No, they will not redeem anything anymore. And yet, there was silver backing that note at one time when it was issued. So what you have now in your wallets is an empty piece of paper that everyone believes in, but can't perform. For example, you heard the story about the emperor's new clothes. Everybody thought the emperor had new clothes on, didn't they? Till some little innocent kid said, wait a minute, the king is naked. And somebody else dared to believe the truth. And what we're trying to show here is that we want to put a system in place in our state, like the other 13 states, so that when it's time to pay the piper and the truth comes out, you can easily switch over because you've had access to a monetary system that has withstood the test of time from all societies in humanity.